Hi everyone, it's me, and today, oh no, don't fall into a coma, a food coma! Let's start. A doctor.
Give it to me straight, Doc. Is he gonna make it?
I'm afraid that double-stuffed burrito hit him pretty hard. We did everything we could, but he's in a coma.
Is it treatable?
Oh, totally. He's gonna power nap and wake up hungry again. Carbs, you know. Why are you looking at me like that?
Something so serious then.
Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory. So, hi.
The show that eats and thinks more than it probably should. Loyal theorists, I know it might seem like my job is just to sit in front of a screen for a few hours every day, play some video games, make some dad jokes on Twitter and call it a day, but actually, yeah, that's kind of true some days. But then there are other days when I'm running around and working on so many projects that I don't even have time to eat. So by the time the workday's over, I am ravenous. Lead me to suck down food like a hungry Kirby from Planet Popstar. And for any of you who, like me, enjoy a good old-fashioned one of everything from the Wendy's Super Value menu, you know that it's about T-minus 10 minutes to a hard crash after that one. That's right, today we are talking about how to beat the food coma.
How to beat the food coma.
Post-lunch nap syndrome. And perhaps no food coma is quite as iconic as the post-Thanksgiving dinner nap. Now, growing up, I was always told that the reason we get so incurably sleepy after our 4 plates of roast turkey on Thanksgiving is that it's high in a chemical called tryptophan. And tryptophan makes you sleepy. Pretty straightforward, right?
Tryptophan.
Well, there's one teensy tiny problem there. It's not true. For one thing, turkey isn't as high in tryptophan as other foods like pumpkin seeds, soybeans, and mozzarella cheese, none of which get blamed for food comas during the holidays or at any other time, really. And second, while tryptophan does promote the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that is one of the keys to sleep, it does that most effectively when your stomach's empty, and the tryptophan doesn't have to compete with a lot of other stuff in your system. So thanks a lot there, elementary school. I'll add turkey makes you sleepy to the countless other lies that you told me. Pluto is a planet. You won't always have a calculator in your pocket. After 3rd grade, everyone will expect you to use cursive. Seriously, if tryptophan isn't the big bad wolf behind food comas, what can we trust from elementary school? Was it?
Oh my god, my pet. Alright, in Singapore there's something called penmanship. And not to brag, I always get a B or an A. B is kind of average actually. It's kind of average. B is like, just another. Okay, I'm Humdrum Singaporean, I'm just another average Singaporean. B is quite normal lah. My friends all got A+.
All a lie? Is mitochondria even the powerhouse of the cell anymore? Folks, today Food Theory is digging into the body chemistry behind the good old post-pizza pass-out. Because if we can understand why food comas actually occur, then we can optimize our eating habits in order to avoid them. So loosen up those belts a notch or two, theorists, because today we're binging on the science of food comas.
The signs of food coma.
If we want to defeat the mighty food coma, which is known to the nerdiest of nerds as postprandial somnolence, we
postprandial somnolence.
first have to understand why it occurs. And that means going into the chemistry of our digestive system and how it affects the brain. When food hits our stomachs, the body responds by producing a cocktail of chemicals and hormones that tell the rest of our body how to react. One of those types of hormones, known as enterogastrone, tells the body how to regulate blood flow. And so
Enterogastrone. Case in point, I'm just glad that MatPat covered so much different scientific, educational, knowledgeable terms in this video, so that to keep this video very educational and entertaining to watch. Edutainment for the win! Yeah!
So when a big brick of fatty, sugary, or protein-heavy food hits us in the gut, more blood is diverted from other tissues and sent to the stomach to deal with sorting nutrients and aiding digestion. The ultimate result of enterogastrone production is sleepiness. See, when our stomachs break down food, one of the main substances that our bodies use is glucose, the simple sugar. As glucose hits the bloodstream, we see 2 major effects. 1, the body releases insulin, which tells the body where to store the sugar that we just produced from the food we ate. And 2, while insulin helps our bodies process a number of the amino acids that it got from the food that we've eaten, one amino acid that it doesn't regulate is that old pal tryptophan.
And case in point, you must recognize that insulin's regulation is extremely important for your body. And unfortunately, if your body is, external injection of insulin's pen is, the more you know.
With a higher concentration than normal of tryptophan in the bloodstream, more of it can get through the blood-brain barrier and cause our brains to produce serotonin, which is then converted to the hormone melatonin. So while tryptophan is indeed a link in this chain of events, it really shouldn't be the one receiving top billing for making us sleepy after meals. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. It's enterogastrone that gets the whole snooze fest started, and it's melatonin that ultimately does the dirty work. See, melatonin is the #1 chemical in our brains that regulates sleep. And you can even take it as a supplement if you say can't fall asleep because you fell down a Wikipedia rabbit hole and before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you're wide awake and you suddenly know a lot more about the emu wars when Australia unsuccessfully dispatched its military to reduce the population growth of wild emus.
And the emus won. Case in point, the birds win against the military. It's either the military is lousy or the birds are good.
Is all highly hypothetical, of course. The situation, that is, not the emu wars, that is a thing that totally happened, where Australia's army got dunked on by a bunch of giant birds. Anyway, this all tells us why eating in general can make us sleepy, but of course there's a bit more to it than that. My personal experience, it's not like food comas strike after every single meal or snack, and that's because the amount of food consumed isn't the only factor here. The glycemic index of that food is also key. The glycemic index of a food refers to how quickly and easily it can be broken down and digested, which then affects how quickly blood glucose spikes and how much insulin is produced in response. The higher the glycemic index, the faster all of this happens. The more food eaten with a high glycemic index, the more insulin produced, which, as we just discussed, results in more melatonin production. So what kinds of foods have a high glycemic index? Not your Thanksgiving turkey. Foods that are low in fiber, fat, and protein, but high in carbohydrates tend to have the highest glycemic index. So things like white bread, potatoes, and pasta are some of the biggest contributors to the food coma. So while it may be true that a turkey dinner is gonna make us sleepy and lethargic, it's probably the starchy and sugary side dishes, not the turkey, that are actually causing our blood sugar to spike, which then kickstarts the whole food coma process. So does that mean the answer to the food coma is to go all paleo diet and just ignore all the carbs? Well, yeah, that would certainly reduce the effect of the food coma, since things that are slower to digest don't cause such dramatic spikes in glucose / insulin / all the things that come with it. However, a food coma-free carb experience is still possible if those carbohydrates are balanced out with plenty of protein, fat, and fiber to make your body digest things a bit more slowly. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I'm not interested in doing a well-balanced meal. I'm in one of those hungry Kirby moods and all I want is to eat a pile of mashed potatoes the size of a baby and not get groggy.
Alright, you will get groggy. You will get groggy.
Is there any other way that I can hack my body into avoiding the food coma? Like, say, caffeine? Because we all know that I have a borderline inappropriate relationship with Diet Coke. Well, the short answer is yes. Caffeine could potentially counteract the effects of a food coma, it just needs to be timed right. See, caffeine messes with some of the chemistry in our brains, particularly a molecule that's instrumental in causing sleepiness called adenosine. If you remember your AP biology, adenosine is a chemical that provides us with energy. And if my memory serves, a lot of adenosine triphosphate is produced by the electron transport chain. I gotta admit, I have no idea what any of that means now without me looking it up and refreshing myself on the information, because
yes, you must remember that even though I may know, you may know, everyone may know, but we may forget. Things that happens like a few weeks ago, you may forget and you need some refreshers. Things that happens a few months ago, you might need some refreshers. It might not be so crystal clear to you right now at this current point. So sometimes you might contradict yourself, unfortunately. Yeah, it's double standards. Unfortunately, that happens because these humans.
Go figure, it turns out that not just elementary school makes us focus on things that we will absolutely never need to know later on in life, but I digress. Now, this gets a little technical, but adenosine fits into both A1 and A2A receptors in our brains. A1 receptors are associated with sleepiness, and A2A receptors are associated with preventing the release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter we associate with feelings of pleasure that generally make us feel pretty awesome possum. The reason caffeine helps us stay alert and feel good is that it has a similar molecular shape to adenosine and can fit into those receptors, therefore preventing the adenosine from getting into the receptors and making us drowsy. So if you drink some Starbucks with your loaf of Wonder Bread, will that keep you from getting sleepy? Maybe a bit. But when your body is working to digest all the food that you just binged, there's a lot of competition going on down in your small intestine for what to absorb and what chemicals for the brain to produce. This is the kind of thing that's hard to study scientifically, since feelings of alertness and drowsiness are all subjective and rely on the feedback of a test subject, but
True, it's subjective and each individuals are different. Need more studies upon it.
to get the most bang for your caffeinated buck, you'd likely need to consume your caffeine before you go on your food binge to make sure that the caffeine has settled solidly into your A1 receptors before your brain cells call in the adenosine. Of course, that would also require you to know well ahead of time that you're going to eat half your body weight in pasta, and in my experience, that tends to be an action taken out of impulse. So it's not like
Yep.
we're always going to be able to stop and say to ourselves, you know what, I'm going to go on an embarrassingly massive food ramp.
Your largest coffee for my upcoming food page,
Page in
please.
a few hours, gotta get that caffeine fix first. So long story short, if you want to avoid food comas, it's not tryptophan that you have to worry about. Instead, focus on eating balanced meals and limiting foods with high glycemic index. And you might have some luck preventing a food coma with a caffeine boost as long as you do it first before you feast.
Have a healthy lifestyle. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
and don't forget to drop the term postprandial somnolence to your friends. Sure, you're gonna sound super pretentious, but more importantly, you're gonna be super right. After all, it's not like you could ever eat in such a way to put yourself into an actual coma, right? Well, this is the last point of clarification that I want to make before we leave today. A literal food coma is technically possible, particularly for people who are diabetic. See, diabetes interferes with the body's ability to process insulin properly. And as we discussed from earlier this video, insulin has a pretty major part to play in how our bodies react to the food that we eat. When insulin is unable to direct the glucose we produce into the body's tissues, that glucose remains in the blood. And if the levels of glucose in a person's blood get very high, and I do mean very, very high, because this is by no means a common occurrence, they can suffer from hyperglycemic hyperosmolar syndrome, or HHS.
HHS, hyperglycemic hypersomnia syndrome.
This is an extreme condition that requires astronomically high blood sugar coupled with dehydration, and it almost always comes along with another medical reason for the person being dehydrated already, but enough food with a high enough glycemic index could contribute to HHS, which results in diabetic coma between 25 and 50% of the time. I'm not trying to make light of how serious diabetes is for anyone who suffers with it, because it is a serious medical condition that affects millions, but the fact remains that this is the extremely rare case when food could literally put you into an actual coma. For most people though, the non-life-threatening version of the food coma can be avoided if you just make sure you don't load up on the simple carbohydrates. Of course, that's easier said than done. Am I right, Oprah?
I love bread.
But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Thanks for chowing down on this episode, theorists. Now who's up for seconds? If you made it all the way to the end card, you're obviously a discerning theorist who appreciates our biology-focused episodes, so you should check out our video on aphrodisiacs. Are there foods that are scientifically proven to make you fall in love? Or are love potions just a myth? Never fear, because food theory is on the case. That button is on screen right now, just waiting for you to click. Also on screen right now, that subscribe button. Smack
That's
it before
right.
you go to make sure
Thank
that you ingest some quality food theorist content each and every week, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Subscribe and ring the notification bell as well. Thank you so much. Ring it. Thank you. And also, I'm just thankful that Oprah, being a billionaire, she recognized the small things in life that makes that the majority of all people enjoy. Bread, something as simple, as cheap, as nice, as fundamental as bread. Is good. Is good to eat. It can be full. It's cheap. It's easy to produce, and it's just wonderful to feed everyone. I love bread. Bread can serve everyone a good meal. All right. In a famine, in droughts, in a disaster, when you don't have the luxury to have like a fine dining, but bread can always be found. And bread can be stored. Bread can be stored for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, and you can still eat it. If you really need it, you can just eat it instead of, starving. Anyways, Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you find this video very interesting to watch. If you do like this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Don't forget to follow my channel. I sincerely appreciate all of your support and cash for my work. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Thank you. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Thank you all so much. Please remember to subscribe. Subscribe. Thank you. You are all the best. Thank you all so much for being so encouraging, uplifting, and just motivationally positive. Thank you.